Hey everybody, my name is Caitlin. I am a former second and fourth grade teacher. I am now on the ClassDojo team and I get to do fun stuff like this. So I'm so happy that you're joining me today. We're going to go over all things ClassDojo, and there is a lot within ClassDojo. So my goal today is that you will be able to set up your class and know all the parts, so you know what to explore and what to look for as you continue to use ClassDojo this year. If you're looking for even more deep dives, not to worry, everything I'm sharing with you today is linked in my slides. Plus, there will be further webinars, tutorials, and lots of things you can find on our YouTube account and on our training page, classdojo.com/training, that go through deep dives for portfolios, social emotional learning, and all the wonderful things you can do with ClassDojo. So let's get started. We're going to start by talking about really one of my big things that I'm going to push on you today is community, because we're together, we are such a resource to help one another. So not just me, you and everyone joining this webinar and joining us in the Facebook community. We'll talk about expectations. I think this is an incredibly important step before you start using ClassDojo. It's a lot like as you set up expectations in your classroom, around using manipulatives. So we'll talk about that, and then we will hop inside ClassDojo. If you're on a laptop, I would recommend split screening at a certain point so you can look at both this video and your Launchpad at the same time, and we can go through it together. So let's get going. Community, this is huge. If you have not yet joined our Facebook community, we have thousands of teachers from around the world joining us in one space to ask questions, to share ideas. And it's not just about how to use ClassDojo. It's about, how do I teach fluency in second grade around, this or that. So there's a lot of sharing going on there. And why reinvent the wheel? And I know that at my school, I had a great, teaching partner that we could share ideas with, especially for those of us who may be the only second grade teacher at our school. Having other second grade teachers to bounce ideas off of can be incredibly valuable. So I would recommend joining our community if you can. If you're on Facebook, it is an amazing space to be. So that was my quick push on community. I'll probably talk about it throughout my slides, but let's talk about expectations. Setting those expectations is important, not just for students in your classroom, but for families as well. The great thing about ClassDojo is that you are giving families a window into their child's classroom experience and into their school life. And so because you're connecting families, it's important to also set expectations with them. I don't know if you've heard that story about, education is a stool. One leg is a teacher, one leg is a student, and one leg is the parents or family. And that without one of those legs, that stool is not as stable. So it's really important to involve families in what's happening so they can support their child, because together, you are helping raise and, create these amazing human beings. So I'll talk about how on ClassDojo you can bring families into your classroom, so to speak, but you will be able to have this sense of transparency so that parents know, here's what we're learning, this is what I expect, and to give them that window into what is happening. It's also important to tell families, here's what I want you to do with ClassDojo. Once you invite families and they're connected, and if you're going to share points, which we'll talk about in a little bit, you want families to know, hey, when I award your student feedback for perseverance, I want you to see that point and to ask them when they get home, say, wow, perseverance? Do you want to tell me about what happened today? The feedback points can be great talking points for families, but letting families know what to do with them can be incredible, can really help them support their child. Even more important if you're using needs work points to communicate with families. If a child gets a point for patience around needs work, I don't want them to go home and to get in trouble for it. If we're using needs work points, it's something that's in the classroom and it's helping that child stop, reflect, make different choices. There's this purpose for it in my classroom, and I don't want that to be held against them, because right away I am praising them for turning that around. It's just information for me and for the parent. And so I might encourage families, hey, if you see a needs work point, at some point, if your child comes home, you can feel free to ask them about it and say, hey, I'd love to know, what happened today? You had a hard time, with shouting out. Let's brainstorm some ideas about how we can deal with that together. And that's how I want them to use it. So setting those expectations with families can be incredibly important. Also, because you're meeting families where they're at and it feels a lot like texting, so to speak, because it's so easy to message families, it's important to tell them, here's when I'm available. If I don't reply right away during the school day, it's probably because I'm teaching your child, but also to set quiet hours. You can make sure that your quiet hours are set for, after school and on the weekends. And that way, if a parent does message you, it tells them this teacher is away right now and will respond after quiet hours. So letting parents know, like, hey, I'm still going to have quiet hours on the weekends, but I will respond to you as soon as I can. Just letting families know that ahead of time can help them kind of deal with that stress of, I sent a message and I didn't get a message back. You're used to setting expectations with students in your classroom. So this is probably not new for you at all. I'm going to actually talk about feedback first because we talked about it in the last slide. Setting up what feedback means with students, for me, is very important. And hopefully, if you're using feedback, you will share this kind of feeling with me. But if I'm going to award them positivity around persevering, I want them to understand what to do with that. What does it mean? What am I supposed to do with that information? So if I see a student who, it's back to school, we just started, and I really want to set my norms for my classroom. And so the first day, a student raises their hand and I'm like, wow, you raised your hand? That's amazing that you remembered how to do that from last year. I'm so impressed. I think we should create a ClassDojo point around maybe classroom manners. We come up with, what do you guys think? And we'll come up with the point together. We'll create that point on ClassDojo, and then I can really award that to kind of get my students back in the habit of, what it's like to be in the classroom. So I want them to be a part of creating points with me. That also means when it comes to needs work, I like to create those with my students. If we are just way rowdy, we're in math centers and it's super loud, I might say, boys and girls, it's a little loud in here. Do you think, what might help us remember to be a little bit quieter in this working time? And I try to get a student to kind of come up with it and be like, maybe we need some needs work point. Great, let's make one together. What do we do with that information? So if they get that point, they need to know, what am I supposed to do with this? So my example before, when that student's shouting out a lot and they get a needs work point for patience, I want them to see that and go, okay, wait, what am I doing? Oh, I'm shouting out. Okay, I'm gonna stop. What can I do to fix that? Oh, I'm gonna raise my hand. And as soon as they get themselves back on track, I'm gonna award them with positivity. So setting up with students what points mean is very, very important. It's just like when you're coming back to school and setting up your norms. I also like to build that into the social emotional learning content that you can find within ClassDojo. There's, growth mindset, empathy, mindfulness, and I like to use that content and create weekly meetings where we come together as a class and we watch the video, we talk about it, and then we create a point that goes along with those social emotional learning videos. I'd also super encourage you to message every family within the first week of school about their child. Just some small thing that shows that you're getting to know them, you value them, you see them, will make that child and that parent just feel so much a part of your classroom community. It's also important to have expectations for yourself. I'm like this in this video, I'm not expecting you to be an absolute expert by the end of it, because we're all humans. It takes time to learn. I'm a learn by doing person, so I have to click through things and test it out and try it to really understand it. So setting expectations for yourself is incredibly important. So first, be kind to yourself. You're learning. We're so excited to go back into the classroom, but you've been through so much in the past year and it's amazing what you've been able to do. So having kindness and understanding for yourself is important as you learn something new. I've also included in here a curriculum map. I'm going to lose my captions for just a moment while I show this to you. This is just a Google Sheet it's a Gantt chart that I made, and you can just go into File, make a copy, and you can save yourself this Google Sheet. It helps me to plan out, my year, where I want my different units to be across the year. And then as I'm, working through things, maybe my BAS testing, I have to move back a week. And I can do that digitally. It's also really nice because you can build this with your other second grade teaching partner, or if your principal needs, documentation of your curriculum planning for your observations, there you go. If you can't access this, sometimes school domains don't allow you to access Google outside of your school district. So try to access it from a personal email, and make yourself a copy if you find that helpful. It's in the slides. So let's get into ClassDojo. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to put my slides on one side and my ClassDojo on the other. So if you would like to do that as well, I would encourage you to do so. Here we go. Let's talk about getting you connected. I'm going to go a little bit slow through this first part. And then when I get really deep into ClassDojo, I might go a little faster. But again, we will have webinars around those different pieces and go really in depth. So I want to make sure that you feel confident setting up your class, getting students and families connected. And then I want you to know about all the parts of ClassDojo, because there's a lot for you to explore. So let's start. If you don't yet have a ClassDojo account, you're going to go on the web or download the app. Honestly, it's really nice to have the app because then your phone feels like a remote for a lot of what you're doing. I know I'd be sitting at the back table with my students and I would have an iPad and I'd be, doing things so that, I don't have to be tied to my desk. So definitely recommend web and app. Right now, I'm going to show you on the web how to do everything. So it might be more helpful to have your Launchpad open on the web. So you're going to sign up for a new account. If you already have a parent account, you will need a second email address. So maybe your personal email is for your parent account and your school domain you can use for your school account. The great thing about using your school domain is that you will be automatically verified for your school, and getting into your school directory and everything will be a lot easier. So I would recommend signing up with your school domain, and choose, whether you're a teacher or school leader, choose your role appropriately. School leader is like your admin, your principal, and they have a bit more like directory control. So if you're a classroom teacher like me, I would choose teacher. Your next step is that you're going to want to connect to your school. As you search for it, it should pop up if someone has created a school for you. If another teacher at your school has created a ClassDojo school account that you can be a part of. Now, if you don't see it in that list, you can create your school, or you can, maybe you can't find your school for whatever reason, you can bypass this for now. Reach out to the teacher at your school and figure out what your class name is listed as. And if you get stuck on any of these parts, not to worry, we're here to help. I'll share our help desk email in just a little bit, but if you get stuck, we can help you. So you're going to find your school, and then your mentor at your school or your school leader will need to verify you and say, yep, this is a real teacher, they can join. Now, I would recommend trying to get verified into your school account before adding students, because if I'm a second grade teacher and first grade used it last year, then all of those student accounts and parent accounts, they're living inside our directory. And when I sign up and I create a class, I can just pull those accounts in. It makes things so much easier. So if you're stuck on this verification, like joining your school step, reach out to, if your principal's connected, or it should show you on that page who your ClassDojo mentor is. A mentor is a ClassDojo teacher who has been kind of upgraded because either they're the first one to join ClassDojo, or they hopefully are more knowledgeable and can share and help you with ClassDojo. So they should be able to verify your account. Don't forget to also verify your email. You'll see a bar along the top until you do verify your email. Again, if you get stuck on any of these steps, hello@classdojo.com. So now that you've set up an account, we're going to set up your class. And if you have not been verified for your school just yet, I'm going to recommend that you play around in the demo class today as I'm talking. If you add students to the demo class, they don't save. It's It's a fake class, it's a demo. So you don't have to worry about anything you do there is not going to affect your account later. It's not going to affect your students or families of your real classroom that you're going to create. If you are verified for your school and connected, you're going to add a new class with me today if you're following along. So let's start it. Let's do it. So the first screen you're going to see right now is I am on my Launchpad. This is where you find, this is kind of your hub for everything ClassDojo. You can see at the top right, I have my little icon here with a drop down arrow that has my account settings. I can refer another teacher. So if I have a teaching partner, I want to get them on board and we can do this together, I can do that. If you need to change your school, that's there too, or log out. The question mark next to that takes you to the help desk. You should absolutely bookmark the help desk. Everything I'm sharing today, those blue words, those are links to help desk articles. So the help desk walks you through everything. Great resource, but it's always at the top of your Launchpad. Or you can email support. Our email's I think it's easy to remember, but it's hello@classdojo.com, but you don't even need to remember it. It's linked right there at the top. Below that, you can see my information. I have a little badge here because I am a mentor for my school. So again, I can verify teacher accounts who request to join our school. And then below that is my school account. I can hop in there. I can go see our directory and a lot more, but we're not gonna dive into that just yet. Let's keep it to the basics to start. Below that are a lot of resources that I hope you'll explore today, maybe when we're done chatting, because there's some great stuff here. The first one, we still kept it as remote learning just in case. It's still a relevant resource, but if you are so over remote learning, skip that one. The next one is the classroom decoration pack. And that one I love because we created nameplates you can print out for students' desks. There's calendar pieces, there's coloring pages. You can print out students' monsters. There's a lot in that decoration pack that's free for you to use. Below that is the introduction video for students, a back to school night presentation. So when you are sharing with families and setting expectations, you can use this presentation to kind of guide you through the steps. And then the big ideas videos. We'll talk about social emotional learning later, but this is where all that content lives for free. You can access it here and a couple other places, and I'll show you where that is. I believe here at the bottom, the PD resources might just be on my mentor account, but I'm not sure. Let's talk about the left side though, because this is where your classes live. If you're brand new, you just probably have a demo class. If you're a returning teacher, you might have some classes from last year. If you have a class from last year, it's important that you archive this class. That way, the next year's teacher, those students don't have the old class in their account. Because when a student posts their portfolio, it's going to ask them in a drop down which class to post it to if they're in multiple classes. And you don't want them accidentally posting it to your class when it's supposed to go to the 5th grade teacher. So to archive and finish out a class, we're going to click the settings wheel. We're going to click finish class, and then we're going to archive this. My 4th graders are going into 5th grade. It's still at the same school, so I'm just going to archive it. If I was teaching 6th grade and my students are going to the middle school, I would graduate my class, but I would definitely make sure you're ready to graduate a class, talk to other teachers before you do so, because that closes those student accounts out for everyone at your school. Let's keep it simple. If you have a class from last year, let's archive it right now. Click archive and done, and that will disappear from your Launchpad. So settings wheel, finish class, archive class, done, archive. Now, not to worry if you make a mistake, if you wanted to access a great class story post you had last year, you can go to your archive classes right here and bring that class back. Let's create a class. We're going back to school. We're ready to create a class. You're just going to click this big blue button that says new class. Like I just showed you, it's important to name your class something that you can easily recognize for that school year. So I might do 21/22. Let's say I'm in 2nd grade today. 2nd grade, Mrs. Warren. Now I like to put my grade level, my name, all of that. That way when parents see what class their student is in, they know which class it is. And when my school leader is going through the list of classes, they can find mine easily. So again, I recommend to make it very specific. I will choose my grade level. That puts the students that I add into my class into that grade level band within our directory. And then you can decide, do you want to share positive points, all points, or not share points at all? You can change this later as well. So if you decide that you want to share all points right now, and then later you decide, nah, I don't want to, you can change it. So just choose one, create class. Awesome. Okay, so the first thing it's going to prompt us to do is to add students. Now, because I belong to a school, as I type student names, you'll see that they show up in this list. The reason they show up is because when you connect a student to their parent and you're verified for your school, it saves that account in your school directory. So let's say dream situation, kindergarten, sorry, kinder teachers, kindergarten starts ClassDojo every year and they connect every parent. That work is done. No one has to do that work again from, K through 6 within your school. So if you're a kinder teacher, thank you for setting up kiddos so well for us, both in their school skills and this as well. But I can pull these accounts into my class. So I can just add a few students. And I can also, I keep doing Harry every time. Let's do Cindy. So if I have a new student this year and they don't show up in that list, that's okay. I'm going to click the blue button to add the student and you can see they show up in my list. When I finish creating my whole list, maybe I have a Word document that my principal sent me with my class list. I can click copy and paste here at the bottom and I can paste that in really easy, or import it from Excel, whichever you have. And I can import that list. Once I have those students here, I can save, and now you can see they're showing up on my Launchpad. Now, you may notice that there's 2 monsters and 2 eggs. Well, the reason these ones are showing up as monsters is because those students have logged in. Because this is my test account, we are often testing things and logging in as students. So with your new class, you will probably see a classroom full of eggs, just eggs. Now, the reason is students show up as eggs until they log in for the first time. So it's a great way to keep track of which students have actually logged in. Awesome for us. But it's also really cool because students, once they log in, they get to hatch their egg and they get to customize their monster. And that monster shows up on your class. So not only do they like their creativity and individual, style gets to show up, they feel excited to do it within the app, but more connected to the classroom you're creating in ClassDojo because they got to customize their monster. So these students haven't logged in yet, so they're still showing as eggs. But Benji and Chocolate have logged in, so they're showing their monsters. Now, let's say you don't want to use eggs, like this is not your jam. That's okay too. ClassDojo is very flexible, and we want to put the power in your hands. So right here on top right, it says how to hatch eggs. It says, help them log in at home. We talked about that. So I can click my student logins and I can get students logged in. We talked about that's one way to hatch student eggs, but you can also hatch student eggs by going to your settings. It says all eggs will hatch 4 weeks after you create your class. So here's the date when I created my class. You can see that this is new, that it's eggs are currently set to auto hatch in less than 28 days. So, okay, I got that. But let's say I'm like, nope, I want to override this. I can click on a student, I can go to options, edit class, click on a student, and I can hatch the egg that way too. Now, there is a help desk article that walks you through how to do this. So if you're like, I want to hatch eggs, I need to know how to do that. Options, edit class, student with an egg, hatch egg. I don't want to hatch them, cancel. But there's a help desk article you can refer to. You just go to your help desk, search eggs, and it will walk you through it. I like eggs. I think it's a fun way to keep track of how my students are logging in. But now that I've added my students, I also want to make sure they can hatch their eggs, they can log in. So at the top, you can see it says student login. There are 2 different ways that I can do this. I can do a classroom login, or I can do an at-home login. So if you are, like my classroom had like one iPad that we all shared. If I want to do classroom login, I am probably going to want to use a QR code, right? That's probably the fastest way to do it with an iPad. And that way I can post that QR code, at my whiteboard. And when students are using the iPad, they can scan and it shows a list of students and they pick their name. I can also do it by text code. I can display that on my whiteboard and students can log in. If we have like Chromebooks, or if I have Chromebooks, I probably want to use the Google login. So you can choose whichever method works best for your classroom. I only recommend using classroom login in class because, like I said, it's going to show a list of students and they have to pick their name. And so it's important we talk with students about, proper usage of technology and that we're not going to click another student's account. And every class is different, and you may have a class who cannot be trusted. You never know. And so if that's the case, or if you just want to make sure students have their own individual logins, the best way to go about that is just do the at-home login. So on the right here, it says at-home login, and I can get printouts and I can send that at the start of the school year. I can have them save it in their binders, whatever I need to do, or I can send invites to parents. This is the easiest way to do it. But first you'll have to connect parents, which we're going to talk about in a second. But once parents are connected, if I want to send home those logins, let's say all these parents are connected. You're going to have to pretend for a moment with me. I'm so sorry. I'll click send to for parents, and it will send a direct message to each parent with their child's individual login. So they only have access to their own account. They have all their information. They are set. And I can share by clicking, just to one family in case that student forgot their login. But all of that lives right here at the top at student login. But like I said, to send those messages, those DMs that have the students' logins, I need to invite families first. So let's talk about connecting families. Right next to student login is invite families. When I click this, I, again, have options. Thank you for being flexible. That's my, a great part about ClassDojo, the flexibility, because every classroom is different. Every group of students is different. So you can either download individual invites. This is great if you want to give out these connections at back to school night. Like I would print out each invite, put it on that student's desk with the other papers that I want them to take home, and then the parent can connect to their child that way. Easy. I can also share a class link. So if I'm doing back to school night and I forgot to print the invites and I'm like, oh no, and the printer's being used by someone else, there's no time. I can click share one class link and I can display that on my whiteboard, or I can send it via email, however I need to. I can also just invite parents by their email and phone numbers. So if I have that class list and that includes parent emails or parent phone numbers, I can invite them that way. Now you can see Benji's parents Benji's parents has been invited, but at the bottom, Alan Awesome's parent is connected, so I don't have to do anything. If they were using ClassDojo last year, they're in my class. As soon as I add them, I can message their parent. Their parent can see their, students report, all that great stuff. They're connected and I don't have to do anything. So that's connecting families. Again, student login, invite families are both right at the top. And we have lots of help desk articles to walk you through each part. So if I'm going a little fast, I apologize. We have so much to go over. Okay. So now that I have my class, we're pretending my parents are connected. I want to make sure I have set up my skills. Now, when I click on Benji and I want to award Benji, some feedback, I have my options that are already set when I create a new class. These are just the automatic ones. So Benji was helping another student find where the pencil sharpener was, whatever it might be. And you can see that point reflected in their point bubbles. Now, as Benji earns points, you can see that point bubble goes up and the whole class point bubble goes up. And maybe I have an economy system and I want to redeem those points. I can do that in the top right. You just have to make sure that your display settings show both, show combined point totals. If I click separate totals, save settings, now there's two bubbles. And when I go to that redeem points, it's gone. There's no longer redeem points. So I like to keep it as combined point totals so that I can use redeem points. You can also choose to go to options display settings, and I can say don't show points because maybe, my kiddos can't handle this year. And I don't want, they're too competitive. Okay, we're flexible. We're not going to show point totals. That's cool too. But I can still award feedback. It just doesn't show their totals. So really important that all that is in your control, and you can change that as you need to. So I'm going to say combined point totals, award notifications. Maybe I don't want those need work ones to pop up. That's important to know that I can turn that off. I can turn off the sounds. All of that is right here in your display settings. So let's go back to setting up our skills. Maybe what I have here isn't really what I want to award. And like I said, I like to set up my feedback points with my students. So I want to create them together. So I can either click add skills here, and that takes me to where I can edit my skills, or options, edit class, skills. So expert tip here. If you go to import from, you can pull your feedback points from any other class you've had. So if your principal wants everybody to be using the same points, same type of points, you can import those, like they're done. But as you can see, a lot of these are very remote focused because they're from last year. But it's easy to import skills from another class. So if your principal wants everyone doing PBIS and use the same set of skills, one teacher creates them, you import them, and everyone's skills are the same. The same goes for if you go over to the needs work category, you can see it imported my skills from last time as well. So I can also create new skills. So I just clicked on add skill here. I can change the little image. I can say, I don't know. That's not a great one, but you guys are more creative. I would come up with this with my students. Maybe I want to make the point weight 5 and then save. There we go. And mine are, they're listed alphabetically. That's why I popped up there. Maybe I don't want this anymore. I can delete it. I didn't love it. And again, I can go to needs work, and you can either have negative points, which like pulls the points away. Again, they are not negative points. They are needs work. I think it's a really important distinction that even as adults, we have things we need to work on. So setting this up with students, you know, it's never negative. I don't want you to feel bad. This is just something we're going to work on. Again, maybe you have a class who can't handle that. They're just seeing the negative. Use neutral feedback. You know, they don't have to have any weight to it whatsoever. And I like to have one every year. I set Antarctica. If I have a student who's having a rough time and they need a break, they can come to me and say, hey, I need to chill out. I need a chill out corner. Has like a stuffed penguin and, you know, other things to help them calm themselves. And then that way, if I award this feedback, I can keep track of it. It doesn't show the student's name, but when I go to the student's report, options, view reports, I have this important data, and I can, if I'm having an SST about the student, we can say, hey, you know, we're really noticing at 9:30, right before snack recess, Benji, you know, is having a rough time. He needs to chill out. Maybe we need to have our snack a little bit sooner. You know, it's recording this data for me so that both myself and my parent can come together and talk about these behaviors that we're noticing or patterns to help the student. That's the point, right? To help these students. So you can customize feedback, you can choose the weight, you can make it neutral. And again, options, edit class, skills. I can choose if I want to share all points, positive points only, or no points. So that's all in your control. Okay. There's also, you keep seeing me go to this options tab. There's a lot of other settings that are important for you to know about. Because again, we want this to be your class for you to make it work for your students and what you're trying to achieve. Oh, before I do that, I'm sorry. You can also undo a point, like if you made a mistake, and add a note. So that for that student who went to Antarctica, I can say, you know, Benji was having a rough time, but did a great job of advocating for himself. Let's try sending him with an extra snack. So I have that information on in my report, so I can keep track of this on Benji's report, and then the parent can also see that note. So they're in the know. Incredibly helpful, especially if you're using needs work to let families know like what's going on, what happened, and then I could write a little note that says, tonight, let's talk about patience or whatever it might be. Okay, so other class settings. Like I said, there's so much on ClassDojo that I could do this webinar for like 3 hours and probably still not get through it all. So options, Let's go to add co-teachers. This is a really great feature. If you, you have a co-teacher. I had a para-educator in my class. So I added that para-educator as a co-teacher. And so when I was teaching, she was able to add feedback, which was so helpful. And my families knew that she was a co-teacher in my class and that she'd be, kind of keeping track of things. But I can also invite my principal to share and be a co-teacher on my class. This is really cool because maybe your principal comes in and takes a picture of you teaching and can post it to your class story. It's great for, your evaluations, for your principal to actually see how you're engaging families and students. If you're sending your students to library and they get a little rowdy, it's great to be able to send your behavior management system off with your students and allow the librarian to also keep that consistency. If you're sending your students to PE, you don't have to be the one to message families and say, wear PE shoes tomorrow. The PE teacher can do it because they're sharing your class. So that was an options, add co-teachers. Or you can get to it by options, edit class. You can see all those things are listed at the top. So teachers, that's where we add that. If you go to settings as well, that's where we were talking about hatching eggs earlier, but there's also down here, enable comments. I'm gonna show you class story, which is basically like your own private Instagram feed. And right now, families can comment on class story. So it's really nice when I post things, they can ask questions. If it's a picture of the kiddos, they can be like adorable, whatever it might be. I can also turn on commenting for students. So if I'm posting like curriculum-based stuff, like a lesson, students can comment on my posts. So that setting is right within settings within each class. So I want you to be aware of that too. Student commenting is turned off to start. That's like the norm. So you can turn it on there as well. Okay, so let's talk about creating this community. You're using ClassDojo to create a community with students and families. We have families who work 3 jobs and are never going to be able to come into your classroom to volunteer and see their kiddo learning. So giving them a window into their child's day is really special. I know that I had families who never would have made it to my classroom, but felt so much a part of the classroom community I was creating because I would share what was happening to our class story, and I would message them and make them feel included. So if you're not going to connect families, I feel like it's a major missed opportunity. I would connect families for at minimum being able to message them and to share these moments on class story. So at the top, you can see right now we're on the classroom tab. We're going to click on class story. And that is where you are going to post photos, videos, files. You can record things. You can post an event. So what kind of things might you post? A photo or video, again, like this example here, we were on a field trip, took a photo, or a video of students at the aquarium looking at whatever it is, or a lesson in your classroom, them actually working through things. You may share a file like your newsletter. You may, instead of sharing, printing out a newsletter every week and putting it in cubbies, and then students have to remember to put that in their backpack, and then that gets lost in the abyss that is a backpack and never gets home. Instead, you can post it as a file on class story so that every family gets it instantly. You can record yourself. I would do this first thing. My very first post, I would record myself and say, hi everyone, my name is Mrs. Warren. I am going to be your 2nd grade teacher this year. I'm so excited. A few things about me, do a little intro video and create events. So I'm going to actually go to my old class, and this is where I wanted to show you, where I had posted things. So within my class, I'm going to go to class story, and you're going to see that I posted quite a few things. Here I posted a photo, a visual. And as I post things, I posted that more than once. Let's scroll to an older one. Okay, so as I share posts, I like this one. So maybe I'm sharing a photo of students working on something. I have a caption written, and I can see that translation was viewed by one parent. This parent translated it into Spanish. That is great information for me. So any caption you write will be translated for you. And you can see down here, I can see who liked the post. I can see who viewed the post by, by parents, by students. So when you do post that newsletter, you can see which families actually view it, which you never know with the actual paper newsletter if they actually view it. So it's very nice to have that information. I talked about events. If I click on event, let's say I have back to school night coming up, and we'll say it's on Wednesday. And I can set what time it's at. I can put the description here. I can put a link. So like, let's say I am also going to be doing it via Zoom for families who can't be in person. I can put the link there. I can, customize the theme. And then I can set reminders so that I don't have to remind families, it's doing it for me. So families will know about this event, this back to school night that's happening. I put on an immediate notification. So as a parent, I would be getting a notification right now that there's a new event. You can see it's pinned right up here at the top as upcoming events. It's pinned the same way for families, so they have all that information. And again, I can see once parents start viewing it, I can see who has viewed it. Very, very helpful for back to school night, assemblies, whatever it might be. But there's so much flexibility of how you can post your class story. And this is a great way to share information to every family connected to your classroom. If you want to share information directly with parents or just one specific parent, messaging is how you want to do that. So when you go to your messages tab, we popped one over. You can see these are my connected families. And again, this is my test account, so it's not pretty and perfect. But I can send a message to all parents in my classroom. So I could say, don't forget, I don't know, XYZ. And I can send that message to all families, and I can see, oh, this was seen by one parent, or this one was seen by two parents and translated by one parent. Yep, it was this parent who translated into Portuguese. Great information for me. So I can send that to every family in my classroom. And maybe this is like, don't forget permission slips. Oh, goodness. Don't forget permission slips. And I can attach that permission slip as a PDF, and I can send that to families. And maybe this is something I'm pre-planning. Our field trip isn't for another month, but I want to send this out at the end of the week. I don't have to send this right now. I can click this down arrow and I can schedule this message to go out at a later time. This is really good for teacher brain. I would always have teacher brain when you're like, wake up at midnight and you're like, oh, I forgot to tell everyone about whatever it is. Oh, they're supposed to repeat issues tomorrow. I was supposed to tell them. And you can't send a message at midnight because parents will get a notification. So instead, you can schedule it to send out in the morning at an appropriate time. So great for teacher brain. But I can also just talk to or send messages to one parent. If I have a student who they forgot the permission slip, I can send it just to that parent, or communicating about the child. Like I said, sending every parent a message at the start of the year about their child to make them feel seen and, oh, my child is loved, and, feel really good. Try to send a message to every parent in the first week of school. Makes a huge difference in how you set up your classroom community. That's just an idea, but very helpful. It shows when the message was read. So I have read receipts. I can also delete my messages if I send, a message with a typo. Parents can't delete their messages. They have to email us to delete them. So those read receipts and deleting message is a special perk just for teachers because this is in your control. And again, don't forget to set quiet hours. Work-life balance is incredibly important. You deserve to have your nights and weekends off. And by setting those boundaries with families, you will be happier. Don't take the grading home, do it in the classroom. No, I'm not gonna tell you to do all that. We're all different. I would take mine home every weekend. But quiet hours is very helpful so that you're not getting notifications in the middle of the night, because I'm sure just like teacher brain, there's parent brain when you suddenly remember something at a very late hour. Oh, I went too far. Okay, so that is the basics of like classroom communication. And there is still so much more I can share about, but I have 10 minutes left in this webinar. So I'm going to go quickly over these parts. The great thing is everything that I'm about to show you, I have a webinar that goes deep dive into it. So if you're like, oh my gosh, way too fast, I don't understand what you're saying, don't worry. I will host a webinar where I slowly go through each part. So let's talk quickly about how you can engage students. And we're going to start by talking about portfolios. This is another tab along the top. When I click on portfolios, you can see mine has been used, so there's stuff in it. Yours will be blank. This is where students can share work in the classroom home, or if they're working at home, they can share it with you, and it's all contained into one space. They can post photos, videos, they can, write, they can draw, they can literally take a picture and draw over it to like annotate. It's really, really cool. It's a lot of fun. So if I always recommend creating a fake student and logging in as them to explore it a little bit. Create a fake parent account, log in to explore that. But again, I have a whole portfolios webinar where I go over how students can add voice notes and captions, and how to get students, easily logged in and how to use that side of portfolios. But the great thing is, as they post this, it follows them year to year. So I know at the end of the year, all the printed stuff I would try to put into a folder and we would send it home, and it's a lot of paper. And if we lose something, then it's devastating because it's gone forever. But on portfolios, it all stays there and you don't have to do anything because as they upload, it saves in their portfolio. Not only can they post, but you can send activities for them to complete. So you can either click this blue button that says create an activity, and you can create, you decide how you want them to respond: text, video, photo, drawing, or a worksheet. You can create a title, add instructions. You can even record your instructions. So if you have pre-emergent readers who need, a video, you can record yourself saying, all right, you're going to draw a self-portrait, whatever it might be. And I can choose whether I want to assign that to the whole class or individual students. So maybe if I have reading groups, I want to assign an activity that's different for each reading group, so it's at their level. Now maybe you're not ready to create an activity on your own. If you go to activity ideas, there are activities created for you that you just click and assign. Now, these first ones, if you're outside the US, I apologize. These are only available for US teachers. And the reason is not because we don't love you, because I love you, but we partnered with NBC with these. And so the video content is actually like copyrighted by NBC. So we can only show it within the US. But for those of you in the US, students are probably watching the Olympics right now. We have different videos around like community, diversity, focus, feedback with like these really amazing athletes. Like Lex Gillette is blind and he's a long jumper. Like so cool. His video is like, so like just to see how he's doing it. Cause like, how do you long jump if you cannot see where to jump? Really cool video you can assign to your students within the activity ideas. If you were outside the US, don't worry, we didn't forget about you. You keep scrolling, there's conundrums, which are awesome. And keep scrolling. At the very bottom here, there's an All About Me activity. This is a great back to school, getting to know them. Mojo actually talks to them.
Hello there, I'm Mojo the Great, but my friends just call.
And he gives them the instructions of what to do in this activity. And there's a worksheet for students to complete. So if you're wanting to kind of explore portfolios a little bit, I would recommend starting with the activities, ideas, and maybe the All About Me activity. Also linked in the slides, I linked a blank Get to Know Me activity. So you can grab that from those slides and use the create activity and create one on your own. I showed you, or I talked about briefly, the big ideas content, the social emotional learning videos, and some of those were created within those activity ideas. But when you're in your class, if you click big ideas, it will take you here. Here you can find videos around growth mindset, perseverance, empathy, respect. And we've partnered with Stanford and Harvard and Yale to create these series. So you can click on growth mindset. There are 5 different videos. It takes you through the story of growth mindset with your students. And this one actually has different activities you can actually do with students. Reflection triangles is a really fun one I enjoy. But these are what I personally use to do class meetings and to create a classroom community, we would watch one a week. We would watch the video together. So there's a video, and then we would do the discussion questions together. And I can share it home with families. And there's also a discussion guide. So I can send that home and have students discuss discuss growth mindset with their parent, so that, the language we're using, like growth mindset, is not just something in the classroom, but the parent can participate at home. Because it's important for parents to know, like, if you don't enjoy math and you think you're really bad at it, like, let's not put that mindset into our student. Instead, let's have a growth mindset. And you can say, I don't really, enjoy doing fractions. I'm just not an expert yet. And set that growth mindset. Anyways, I have a whole webinar about this. I could talk for hours about social emotional learning. So I'll pause there. There's a ton to explore. It's right down here at the bottom under big ideas. When you joined my webinar, you probably heard music. That can be found in the toolkit right here under music. I like to start with active music. Great for, if students are doing centers or whatever, it's a little more active. Or using focus music very much sets the tone. I would always use that for silent reading, for writing time. And the focus music is the beats per minute that they recommend for studying. So it's like the perfect, there's no words, it's not distracting, it's great background music. But there's, other tools here too that are great. A timer, random, group maker. Let me just point out this one. Group maker. I want groups of 4. Done. The best part about that, let's go back, toolkit, group maker. I can put students in don't group together. So if I have 2 chatty Cathys that I do not want in the same group, I can save it here. And no matter how many groups I make, they will never be in the same group. Love group maker. So explore group maker. There's a lot there. Directions. Students always forget your directions as soon as you say them. So you can just type them in there and pull them up, and it saves them. So you can use the same directions later. Today, when students are entering your classroom and you want them to know what they're supposed to be doing and it has the date, awesome tools here. But I'm running out of time, so I'm going to keep going, and you can explore those tools on your own. The best thing about all of this is that we are here to help you. Like I shared that Facebook community earlier, that is a great resource to ask questions around ClassDojo, around content specific stuff, and get answers from teachers around the world just like that. But you also know where to find the help desk. Do you remember? It was the question mark at the top, help desk, or just bookmark it. You'll probably use it. I use it all the time. You can see we have tutorials and webinars on our YouTube, but if you go to ClassDojo.com/training, come on, there we go. If you go to the ClassDojo.com/training, our learning series shows which webinars are coming up. These are recordings of previous webinars. This webinar will eventually be uploaded at the top here for Let's Get Started. So lots there. You can also go to ClassDojo.com/resources. And that's also linked at the top. So you don't even need to remember that. It's just resources. And it has lots and lots of great stuff for you to explore. Every school should have a mentor. I talked about that earlier. It's either the first person who joined ClassDojo, or hopefully someone a little more knowledgeable who can help you get set. But if you get stuck, you can always email us at hello@classdojo.com, and our support team can help you out. As we get into like the real back to school season, we'll probably get a little slower with our replies because we have a small team and we're trying to answer every email very thoughtfully. But right now we're pretty quick on our responses. But again, that's why you have so many different places you can go. The help desk, you can email us, you can Facebook community, and find everything that you need there. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you being here. Have an amazing year. I'm so excited that you're going to be in your classroom and with your kiddos. And if you ever need my help, you can find me on Facebook, and I'll see you in there. Thanks for joining. I'm going to start answering these Q&A questions. Okay.